88.5 The Truth. Hey, this is Brian. I'm in the studio. I have a special guest, Hannah Jackson, Heath's little sister. And there was probably times when you didn't want to be Heath's little sister, right? You just want to be known as Hannah. You know, I don't want to be Heath's little sister.
Yeah, right. I struggled with that, and I feel like all the time I would meet people, and they would say, "You're Heath's little sister," or "You're Hunter's little sister," and I didn't realize, you know, what a great thing that was until, unfortunately, after his passing.
But so now it's a good thing to think of yourself that way. I know when I've talked to your mom, I've always said, this is Heath's mom. And I know she's an individual,
right.
But, you know, this is kind of where, you know, she's realizing, you know, it's not a bad thing to be known, not
right.
as Angie, but as Heath's mom.
Right, right. I feel like he was such an amazing person, and anybody, just to be a part of his world, anybody would be flattered.
Right.
To be a part of that. So.
Right. Well, we were just talking, you know, how a lot of times in the media and everything, you only get to talk in sound bites, and you really just get to answer the questions that are on the minds of the person asking them.
Right.
You don't necessarily get to say what's on your mind. And
right.
we were talking some about Heath, and really he had turned a really big corner, let's say, in the last, I would say, 8 months.
Right.
Really since 88.5 The Truth went non-commercial or non-profit. He became the program director here, and it meant, you know, some pretty big commitments on his part. Let's talk about what you observed and where you thought he was coming from.
I remember he said to me one day, we were at my grandparents' house sitting outside, and he said, Hannah, I have to talk to you about something. And I thought, okay, you know, what is this going to be about? And he said, we're about to make some huge changes. And I asked him, I said, we? And he said, well, I am about to make some huge changes in my life. And I said, okay. And he said, I really need your support. And I told him, I support everything that he's ever done. And so I told him, okay, you have my support. Now tell me what it is I'm supporting. And he said, you know, I'm not going to sing in bars anymore. I'm just going to solely concentrate on worship and on singing for the Lord. And I'm having trouble with telling people because I don't know how the world is going to accept it. And he had really made some changes. We sat down the Saturday before everything happened, and I was downstairs in my apartment, and I walked upstairs. He came and got me and said, come watch football with us. And I walked in, and he was just so happy and just such a joy to be around. And there was just something about him, and you could just tell by looking at him that, you know, that he was just happy. And a happiness that you just can't see in the world, but a happiness that can only come from the love of Christ. And
right.
And I feel like, you know, we were just talking and laughing just about everything, and you could just see that his world was completely different than it had been.
Yeah.
And
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'll ask you another question in that line.
Sure.
You know, growing up, you know, the Heath I've known for the last couple of years is very excitable.
Right.
Always very, very funny.
Right.
But he had a strong sense of injustice.
Right.
And he was beginning to, I think, understand that that compassion was going to be how he won people to the Lord.
Right.
And part of that meant putting aside his personal things. And, you know, he was a great artist, a great singer and songwriter, and he had a lot of success there. And, you know, he also had a job like this one that he needed to augment his income.
Right.
And so giving up playing meant really giving up a portion of his income. And so a lot of things were kind of converging there that were kind of the opposite of what the world was saying. Mm-hmm. The world would say, do more of that because that's where you're going to get paid. And that's where, excuse me, that's where you'll get your attention.
Right.
And so it was really the opposite of what the world, but yet I saw it too, a peace, maybe happiness. It's hard not to see happiness on Heath, but a peace about the decision he'd made.
Definitely.
He didn't seem to be torn or double-minded about it at all.
I think, like a lot of us, Heath always, his main thing was he was a big people pleaser. He wanted to make everybody happy. He wanted to just do something that people would be proud of and that they would say, oh, he's so awesome. He's so great. And I think, like we were talking about earlier, I think towards the end, he realized that it's not about him. Mm-hmm. It's not a selfishness that we as people, as human beings, that we all have, that it was less of him and more of Jesus, and I feel like he really understood that towards the end. And
right.
He absolutely exuded the love of Christ.
Right.
He did.
Right. I loved seeing that confidence grow in him.
Yeah.
And well, I tell you what, let's talk a little bit more. Let's play a song. Let's play "Your Love Never Fails" by Jesus Culture, one of his favorites, and of course one of ours as well. Right here on 88.5 The Truth. 88.5 The Truth. That was Jesus Culture here on 88.5, and I've got Hannah Jackson in the studio. We talked a little bit earlier about, maybe growing up it's not nice to be anybody's little sister, but now it's I'm sure it's pretty sweet to think of yourself as Heath and Hunter's little sister. Hannah, we talked some about the changes Heath had made, but I feel like the seeds for who Heath was at the time of his death were sown a long, long time ago. There are a lot of people who poured into his life.
Right.
And you know what? He had to learn, like a lot of us had to learn, through experience.
Right.
By making wrong choices and realizing that good fruit doesn't come from bad choices.
Right.
But there was something in him that I'm sure you knew all along. Y'all were very close.
Right.
Very loving family.
Right.
And why don't you talk a little bit about some of your favorite moments, or just some insight into what it was like to growing up Jackson.
Growing up Jackson in the Jackson family was definitely entertaining. We never had a dull moment. We have a huge family on my mom's side, and I know that a lot of times when Mom kept us constantly in church, and I can remember, running up and down the halls of Evangel Temple. We terrorized that place. We were just like little terrors. We really were. And we had so much fun. And we, had so much love and support that we didn't even know as children. We didn't even see it. And I can remember, he was in Royal Rangers and I was in the Friends or the Daisies or whatever. And I can remember, he would go to church and he would hear something. And from the time that we were little until, now, he just would always go and he would hear something different than what we heard. Mm-hmm. We would hear, okay, this happened. And Heath would hear something completely different. And he would give just a completely different vantage point and would say, well, what about this? And he was constantly questioning and growing, even from, being 12 years old. And it was so funny because he would always, my Meemaw is a very strong Christian woman, and she would have these conversations with him because, he would say, okay, Meemaw, well, what about this? What is this? Mm-hmm. What does this mean? And she would take out her Bible and she would read him the scripture, and she would say, I don't want to tell you what I think because it's faith. You have to have faith and you have to have your own faith and ask God to open your eyes. And he was always very inquisitive and always just wanting to know more, always wanting more.
Right. I like that because I've listened to some of his original music.
Right.
And really that's the thing that sticks out about me. He would say things in a way that no one else would say.
Right, yeah.
So, for example, I can't remember the name of the song, but the line is, I know you think like I'm like all the other guys.
Yeah.
And so any songwriter would say, I'm nothing like them.
Right.
And he says,
but baby, you're nothing like me.
That's right. And I mean,
right.
I thought, that's, it took it from being a cliche into something like it makes you want to know what is like you.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, kind of a unique perspective. And of course, I got to see it a lot here. And there's really no way to express through words how much fun he could be, and how much he liked to laugh and everything. So, I guess those certain things you get to keep to yourself. and treasure those things.
A funny story that one of Heath's friends, Chris, told me was that they were at the beach and they were in the pool and they were laughing, having a good time. And Chris said to him, "Who do you think our funniest friend is?" And so they sat there and thought for a minute, and Heath looked at him and said, "I think I'm our funniest friend." And that's such a Heath thing to say. Like, he wouldn't give credit to anybody else by saying, "Oh, yeah, they're really funny." He would say, "Oh, yeah, I think I'm the funniest.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
I'm that guy. I'm the funny guy."
Yeah, that's really funny. All right, we're talking with Hannah Jackson here, Heath's little sister, and it's going to be a great night coming up on Sunday night, November 21st, 6 p.m. at Calvary Baptist Church. We'll talk more with Hannah when we come back, and you just go ahead and make plans to get your tickets at the Sanctuary Christian Bookstore. All right, we're back with Hannah Jackson, and this is Heath's little sister. So much fun to have her in the studio. We'll talk more about really her relationship with Heath and where Heath was, and we'll talk more about the event coming up on Sunday night. But one of the last things he said to me was, "Okay, Brian, tell me a scale 1 to 10." And he's probably done this to you many times. Scale 1 to 10. And whenever he'd say something like that, I'm like, I don't know what's going to come. He said, "Scale 1 to 10. How much do you love me?"
Oh, goodness, yes.
And this was the day we lost him. And he was getting ready for imminent worship. And then he was so nervous, and I was asking him questions about the Dave Barnes concert, which is going to be that Friday.
Right.
And he was just kind of about as nervous as I've ever seen him. He's like, "Just let me get through imminent worship, and then we'll put all our effort into the Dave Barnes thing." And just in the midst of that, he just stopped and said, "Scale 1 to 10."
Right, yeah.
And, most people can't switch gears like that.
Right, no, they can't.
But so I know that I missed that about him. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think coming up on Sunday night? What do you think, what do you expect? I know it's hard to imagine, and we're put together everything for a great concert.
Right.
And I don't think it's fair to say what would he think.
Right.
But what will it mean to you to be able to honor Heath in this way?
What it means to me is I feel like to Heath, I feel like he would want the focus. I know that he would be so stoked about Dave Barnes coming. He actually was so stoked. He told me he was so excited about Dave Barnes, and I actually found a Dave Barnes CD in his room when we were cleaning up some stuff, and I know that he would be so stoked and appreciative, and everything of Dave Barnes and Jonathan and Lisa and Garrett, but I think that his main focus would be that all of this just glorifies God. And that it's not about the people, and it's not about the singing, and it's not about, just playing. It's about the love of Christ. And without that, we're all nothing. We're, just making noise, and without the love of God, the love of God changes us.
That's
and
right.
And I feel like that he would want people to see Christ's love and to see the love in the singers and to see the love so that we can love other people and people who aren't Christians and win them by loving them.
Right.
And so I think that that's really what I hope for. I hope for, lives to be changed. I hope for, people to just come as they are and to just enjoy the music and the love and the support. And I feel I'm very appreciative of the truth and of, the love that you guys have shown my family and me. And also, Dave Barnes and Jonathan and Lisa and Garrett and everybody, just coming. I'm just overwhelmed with appreciation.
Yeah.
And I just
it's going to be a great night.
I'm so excited.
It really will.
I'm so excited about it.
Well, let's tell people one more time. It's at 6 o'clock, Calvary Baptist Church on Old Moon Road here in Columbus. Tickets $12 in advance at Sanctuary Christian Bookstore or $15 at the door. You might want to go ahead and get the advanced ones. I know the tickets are doing really well, and we hope to fill that place up. And special thanks to West Georgia Eye Care Center, who has they've stepped up and sponsored the whole event, which is an amazing thing. And also Calvary Baptist Church putting all the all the things together, including the use of their sanctuary. It's going to be
awesome. Yeah,
absolutely great. So, Hannah, thanks for being here. It's helped me. I hope it's been good for you.
Yes, it has. It's been awesome.
And so we'll get back to the music now. And thanks for listening to The Truth.